So when I heard about Chief of War, I so I do stunts here and there. You know, my father was a stuntman and still does coordinating some coordinating stuff. But when I heard about Chief of War, I was just like, I was born to run through the jungle naked with a spear. You know what I mean? Like that's like,
Yeah.
that was just like, I think maybe every indigenous sort of Hawaiian is probably that's probably in our blood somewhere, you know. And I just heard about what they were doing, what Jason was doing, and I think they have been trying to do this for like 40 years now. I mean, Dwayne Johnson tried to do it, and I think Jason finally got put into a position where he was bankable enough to do that, you know? And so he put his money where his mouth is and was brave enough. And I really look up to Jason. He's really an amazing guy, very, you know, I mean, very approachable, normal dude, badass filmmaker. And so I did everything I could to try and get on that. You know, there's a lot of muscular, big guys here in Hawaii that were going after that. So that's why I was working out and I grew out a beard and I was just like, whatever I can do to get on this thing, I'm going to get on it. And I felt so grateful that I got on and my two buffer, older, better looking brothers, not buffer, well, they're both older, but they both got on. They were like shoo-ins, you know, they looked like warriors. And I just wanted to be there no matter what. I would have picked up trash. I would have done security on that show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I got on, and as it was coming to the end, you know, there was just moments on that set where it was like 300 Hawaiians, Polynesians on one side of a hill, and there are 300 over here, and we're all screaming at each other, and I see you girls, you know, you're with your, it's just an amazing experience. It's like, it's just amazing. I think I cried on that show and on set, just watching things, you know, in those moments for many days. And
it was incredible to see how alive something that we'd always learned about or seen in Bishop Museum became. And as a native Hawaiian, which I think that you're explaining as well.
Yeah.
It felt like an out-of-body experience and reverent all at the same time.
It did.
It was like teleporting. There was a moment when we hadn't started shooting yet, and I was in wardrobe, and they had all of the capes done, right? Feather capes. Yeah. And I had put on Ka'ahumanu's cape. Pa'a was one of the writers on the show, or the writer, and he's like, he knows that I'm freaking out, right? And this is a room full of people who are not native Hawaiian besides him, and I'm freaking out looking at this cape. And he goes, we should see it on someone, because they were like, don't touch the capes, right? And he goes, Star, come here. And I go, oh, you know, so they place it on and they tie Ka'ahumanu's cape on me, and this is not a real cape, right? This is the one that they made for the show, but it was like an out-of-body experience. And I started crying there in the middle of this fluorescent lit building of like full of wardrobe and sewing machines. But just what this film means to us as people, like people are not prepared for what this is going to be and what it did for us, I think, being a part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that was the thing. It's just like, you know, my brother Tanani and I, and bro, that we were all on it, and I remember even I just couldn't believe I was there. You know, I just couldn't believe I was there. I was so grateful to be there. You know, and even like when we first started, there was a first scene, and Tanani and I were in the same scene together, and so, but we didn't need to be on set. It was like the second shot, right? It's a great story. So it's day one. Chief of War.
Let's give context to what Chief of War is.
Okay, yeah, let's do it. Yeah, go ahead.
So Chief of War is a story of Kamehameha, Ka'iana, his war chief, and Ka'ahumanu, their triangle of relationship, but also Kamehameha's unification of the Hawaiian Islands. So this is like ancient Hawaii, and that's basically the gist of the story. The first two episodes are in Native Hawaiian, which is the first kind of show of its kind in this magnitude and excellence from a major network in Hawaiian language, which is just incredible. I mean, I wish it all was in Hawaiian, but like we'll take every piece that we can get. Yeah. But major for, I think, our community for like Hawaiian film, and excited for it to come out. But that is the gist of what the show is if you're not familiar.
Yeah. It's the first of its kind really on this level.
Yeah.
And it's being backed by Apple. They must have spent they're gonna
$1
spend.
jillion.
Yeah, I'm not gonna throw out numbers, but they were spending a lot of money.
Jillion trillion.
And day one, and all the stunt guys are back at the trailer, and my younger brother Tinani and I were just like, screw going back to the trailer. I just want to be on set the whole time. So I was just like, let's just go and hang by camera, you know? And so we're hanging by camera, and we're like, just like help them move stuff through the jungle and stuff, you know, because we're crew members too, you know what I mean? And so we were like moving cases and helping them with props and just doing stuff that wasn't, you know, sanctioned for us to do. And we just wanted to be there, you know? And I'll never forget it, man. There's like maybe like 30 extras in the grass, and then there's some stunt guys in the palm trees, and then there's Jason and Takohe, really, really great New Zealand actor. And it was the first piece of dialogue that they were going to speak in the show. And historically in cinema, it's tough. It's tough to portray a lot of Hawaii language. You know, there's not a whole lot of like, there's no documentation really. Like there's no like a video you can watch of somebody from like 1800s how they speak. So you have to like go by whatever knowledge you have. And so sometimes it can sound, it just sounds like, it's like Shakespeare, you know, you have to do it right. And luckily we had this amazing Keawe Goodhue, who was like really, you know, he really like was like hard on everybody about getting it right. And you know, in movie making, I'll say this, I'm trying to say this politically correct. In movie making, it's all about making something work. So if it feels off a little bit, the audience will know, and then it takes them out of it. But they just did so many months of prep, and I know Justin Chan and all those guys, they were just like so adamant about rehearsal. So they rehearse. So anyways, we're on set, and it's Jason and Takohe, and it's like this electric energy, and I'm standing behind the monitor, and Jason, and they call action, and Jason does his first line of dialogue to Takohe, and he's like, and he does it in this like in his low raspy voice, you know. And then Takohe delivers his dialogue back. I get goosebumps thinking about this, and you could feel it working, like it was palpable. Like you could tell that Jason's delivery, it sounded like past assault, and you know what I mean. It sounded very just matter of fact, not like forced. It sounded like the best I've ever heard it in sort of a movie cinema setting, and just his voice and everything about it. It felt real. And they call cut, and I look at my brother Tinani, and I was just like, and I just went crazy, just because like I was like, oh, this thing is gonna work. You know, this is our ancestors are all behind us right now, like moving us forward. Like this thing is gonna work. And then all the mainland guys are like, what's going on here? And then Jason looks at me, and he's like, and he looks around, and he just goes, Chee! And he just goes, and he just gives out this loud chee-hoo out, and then all the extras, everybody they just all go nuts, and it just erupted like it's begun, you know. It was like this call to, you know, this like the what do you call it, the conch blowing at beginning us, and it was just this palpable, and that was the beginning of Chief of War, and then it was just a crazy experience. I know I talk a lot. I'm sorry, but so to go back to
Portuguese power. You're Portuguese.
I know. So to go back to having a speech at the rap party, you know, I was sitting there, and I was just sitting in gratitude, and I talked to Angela Pratt, one of the producers, very good friend of ours, and you know, probably the biggest, you know, independent film, and not even non-independent film producer here, and we have in Hawaii, and just the queen of film here, and I was telling her how grateful I was, you know. And you know, I live in gratitude, and she said, you know, you have to say something, and you have to tell Jason and Pa, you know, and how grateful you are. And I was like, oh no, I don't want to do that. Like, right. I don't want to be that guy. You know, somebody else should be that person. She's like, no, you do it. You do it. And I was like, no, Angie, I'm just going to eat my food and I'm out of here, you know. And then so she was like, you should do it. And she walked away. She like planted this grenade in my mind, and I just sat there, and I was with I forget who I was with, and I was just like, ah, screw it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so I went up to the stage, and everybody's drinking and they're
Yeah,
all
wild.
vibing. And then and that was the real reason I went up there was because Angie prodded me to do that. I didn't want to take away, I don't want to outshine the master. You know what I mean? I don't want to outshine. This is Jason's thing. You know what I mean? So I don't want to take it away from him. But on that note, I just wanted to let him know how grateful I was to
Mm.
be there, because I know they could have cast a million other guys except for me. I was probably the smallest guy that they had, skinniest probably, you know what I mean? I worked out as hard as I could to be there, and I was just grateful to be there. But I know that I was very lucky to have been in that
Mm.
position, and they gave me a lot of opportunities. I shot previs, I coordinated some fights, and I was involved with some creative stuff, and just, you know, on a minor level, and I was just grateful to be there, you know, and I think everybody felt that same gratitude. And so I thought, well, shit, if nobody's gonna say it, then at least I can say that, so that he knows, you know, that it's a big deal, because they weren't gonna film in Hawaii at all. And they were just gonna go all New Zealand because it's so much cheaper. And Jason just put his
Mhm.
money where his mouth was, and he was just like, "No, we're filming here." And he didn't have to do that. You know what I mean? He didn't have to. We didn't have to do that there. It costs a lot more for them to
Yeah.
do that. And I'm utterly grateful for him for that and for doing this. I mean, it's a big gamble, Chief of War.